Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. In this video, I am going to create the Brick Breaker game in Unity. So, if you want to see how the game is going to look, you can skip to the end of the video. So, let's first start by creating the design document. So, let's see what is the basic outline of the game. So, the game has a ball and platform, and there are bricks placed, and the ball will be moving inside the play area, and beneath the platform there will be a death area. So if the ball goes there, the game will be finished, and the brick breaks if it collides with the ball, and with a certain probability it will produce a power up, and we can move the platform left and right, and the ball will move depending on how uh, its physics is. And the game ends when all the bricks are collected, and if we hit the death area, then also the game will end. So if all the bricks are collected, we'll increase the level, and the platform will be able to collect the power-ups. The power-ups types are the one in which the speed is going to decrease, and the second one in which will increase the size of the platform. And then we'll have the shooting power-up. We'll just shoot bullets, and there's the lightning ball which will go pass through all the bricks. And the last one is the multi ball, so it will spawn two more balls. So let's see how the basic scripting is done. So that's how the main menu is going to look. There will be a title, I'll add a background to it, and there will be buttons to select the level, which level we are going to play. And this won't be visible at start. When we hit play, this buttons will be visible and we should be able to see the level. And after that, inside the gameplay scene, we have one for the score, and there will be the play area. And when the game ends, we'll create a UI to move back to the start of the scene, or quit the game, or go to the main menu. So let's see what the main menu will include. So it will have a menu manager, and after that it will have the canvas, and inside the canvas we'll have a background image, and first we'll have the play button, and inside an empty level object we'll add all these five buttons and the title text. So that's going to be it for the main menu. And inside the gameplay scene, at the start we'll have the title text score, and there's going to be the play area, but you cannot see it now. When we are going to create, you'll be able to see it. We'll have a platform spawned at the starting position, and there will be a ball, and after that there will be a couple of bricks. And if we if the game ends or if we die, then there will be the three UIs. So let's see. So there's the score text and the end game image. So we'll use an image, so we should be able to differentiate it when the game ends. And then we'll add three buttons to it. So these are the play button, the menu button, and the quit button. And after that, we'll have the main camera. And inside the main scene, we'll have the background sprite. And after that, we'll have all the colliders, which are the walls. So we'll have three walls in the left, right, and the top. And the bottom wall will be a ground. We'll add a tag to it, so we'll just use the default tag, which is a respawn. And after that we'll have the game manager. So that's it for the gameplay scene. And as you can see, there'll be a prefabs for the ball, the paddle, which is the platform, and there'll be a prefab for the power up, the brick, and the bullet. Now let's see how I created it. So I always create the visual scripting. So if I refer to it again, I'll just open this file and I'll be able to see how I created that functionalities. So let's see how I did it. So the first is the main menu. So inside the main menu, we have the main camera. We haven't changed anything for it. Next up, we have the canvas. So we just set up the canvas as we already do. And inside the canvas, we'll have a background image and a title text and a play button. So these are going to be at the start. And after that, we'll have a levels empty. And inside that, we'll have all the level buttons. And then we'll have the menu manager empty object, which will contain the menu manager script. And inside the menu manager script, at the awake, we'll show the play button and hide the levels object. And Whenever we click the play button, we'll hide the play button and then we'll show the levels object. And similarly, whenever we select the level, we'll set up the levels player prefs to be the name of whatever we have selected. So I'm going to name it as 1234, so we can parse it to an integer and store it in the player prefs. So whenever we go to the gameplay scene, we should be able to get the current level, and depending on that, we'll load whatever the configuration of that level is. So after that, we'll create the gameplay scene. And in the gameplay scene, I've set the main camera size to 15 and similarly set up the canvas. Then we'll have the score text and the end game, which contains a sprite, and it will have the three buttons. So the buttons are going to be similar as we have in the menu. So I've created a prefab out of it, and after that we'll add the assets. These are just the default configuration of the assets, so I remember it when I'm creating it now. And after that we'll add the ball, the paddle, and the brick. So before adding the ball, paddle, and the brick, let's add the walls. So let's first add the background sprite and let it set its position to 1. So it's the at the bottommost position. And after that we'll add an empty game object, which is the boundary, and we'll add all the three walls. And then we'll have the ground, and it will contain a material. It's not necessary, but let's just add it. And it will have a tag, and it will have a box collider. And after that we'll add the game manager scripts. So this should be it for the default scene, and we should be able the how scene looks. And after that we'll create the prefabs out of the sprites we added. So first we'll create the ball prefab, the brick prefab, and the paddle prefab. The ball will have a circle collider 2D, rigid body 2D, and it will have a material of bouncy, and it will contain a tag of ball, and it will contain a ball script. And similarly the brick will have its collider and its script tag. And similarly for the paddle, it will have a capsule collider and it it will contain its paddle script and the tag. Now let's see what's inside the ball script. So for the first, to check the ball, we need will add it at we'll just move the ball. So we'll just add force at the start. So we'll get its rigid body, and we'll add a random force to it. So it will be in the upward direction, and we'll set the X position randomly, and we'll normalize it, and then we'll add the speed. So it will set up the force. And similarly, we added the collisions now. So if the tag is brick, then we'll update the score. Similarly, is the respawn, then we'll end the game. And if the tag is player, then we'll just reset the combo. So this we are going to add further in the game manager, where we'll calculate the score. And after that, similarly for the paddle script, we are just going to translate it depending on whatever our input axis is, which is the horizontal axis. So we should be able to move the paddle left and the right. And similarly, we need to check for bounds. So if it is out of bounds, then we'll reset its transform uh, to wherever it was. So after that, we should be able to move the brick. So we'll just destroy that brick, and we should be able to do that. Now, after that, set up the game manager. So the game manager first have the game quit, the restart game, and the menu function. And in the awake, we'll first set up its instance, and after that we'll set up its whatever properties are there. So score, the multiplier, the game finished, and all the text and the UI. And similarly the reset combo, it will reset the multiplier. And end game, it will show that end game object. And I added the number of balls, so it will check if the number of balls is not equal to 1. So if there are more than 1 balls, and if the game has not finished, then we'll just return. And in the update function, we are checking if the game has finished. So the game will finish when the number of bricks is 0. So if the number of bricks is not 0, then the game will not finish. But if the number of bricks is 0, then what it will do is it'll get the current level. Then we'll just increase the current level, and we'll do the percentage equal to, so it will set up the current level, and after that we'll set has game finished to true. So here has game finished is set to true, so this will be false. So it will just end the game, because here we are checking if the game has not finished, and the game has finished, so this will be false and this will run. And similarly in the update score, we are just increasing the score, and this one I have done afterwards, so we'll spawn a power up. So we won't do it now, we'll do it afterwards, but we'll spawn a power up, and it will just set up its power up type, and it will set its sprite depend on the type. And after that we have the spawn bricks function. So for the spawn bricks, we'll create a three-dimensional levels. So three-dimensional because for the first dimension we'll store whatever level is, and after the next two dimensions for each it will store the grid wherever the bricks are stored, and zero if there is no brick, and depending on 1 2 3 4 5 will set up its sprite. So it will get the level from the player prefs, will get its width and height, and will spawn at wherever the levels is not equal to 0. So after that we'll do the power ups. So the power ups we need to create the sprite. So the power up is just going to sprite. It will have a sprite renderer, the circle collider 2D, and the rigid body 2D. It will have a tag of power, and it will contain a power script, and that is one bullet power up. So we'll need to create that bullet, and the power ups we are going to collect inside the paddle script. So we'll add it inside the paddle, and let's see what the power script will do. So for the power script, it will just move it downwards, and the bullet will just move it upwards, and if it hits the brick, similarly we did the ball, will call the game manager dot update score function and will destroy that brick. Now inside the paddle script, so the paddle script, this ones are used for the bullets, and we have created a couple of ints and floats. So the number of speed timer, the size timer, and the lightning timer. And we'll set up all that timer to the 0 and the shooting time to 2, because we are going to shoot for 2 seconds. And if our paddle enters a trigger, so there is nothing much for the paddle, but if it enters a trigger, and we'll set it to trigger so we can collect the power ups, and this will be needed to set to kinematic, and we'll need to set it to simulated so we can get the collision. So if it triggers, then we'll check on the power type. If it is 1, then we'll start the coroutine for the power speed decrease. Similarly for each, we'll start the coroutine for the powers shooting, and for the last two, uh, where it is, we'll set the power for start the coroutine for the power lightning. So for this one, I have created delegates. So the delegates are functions which just calls other functions, and we can subscribe to that function. So if we call that function, it will call whatever function it subscribed to it. So I was going to use event, but there was a little bit difficulty with the event because we cannot call that event outside of its class. So I just use the delegate, and it will call the ball static delegate, which is an action which I have created it here, which is the public static action, lightning enable, disable, and spawn ball. So for the multi ball, we'll just call the spawn multi ball action, and for the power lighting, we are doing it here. We'll call the on lighting, and we'll increase the number of speed timer, and then we'll wait for 3 seconds. And as you can see, what we are doing is, if there are two power ups, then we'll just decrease its count. So there will be only one power up. So for the next power up, this counter will be 1, and if it is 0, it will deactivate that power up. So it is similar for all the power ups. Here we are increasing the scale, and similarly here we are spawning the bullets, and it is not going to reset it here, because instead if it is not 2f, so if it is something less than 2, we'll just reset the shoot timer. So this coroutine will be running continuously. And similarly for the power lighting, we are calling the lighting, and on lighting we have added the actions. So if it is on the ball script, then it will enable the tree renderer, and for the brick script it will enable the trigger. For the off lighting, it will disable the trigger and the tree renderer. And similarly for the spawn multiple action, it will spawn two balls. So that's it for the design. Now let's go inside Unity and let's see how we are going to create. So first we'll create the menu. So for the menu, let's set up the assets. So this one is going to be 64, and similarly for the balls, let me see. For the balls, it's going to be 512, and I'll make it multiple because we'll need to get the only the balls. So I'll just automatically slice it, and this is the ball. And let's see where, let's slice it automatically. Let's see why is it not working correctly. So let's just do it manually. So let's see what its size is. So the position 72, 70, 367, 39. Let's put a little bit downward. So that's how our ball's going to look, and let's just apply. And uh, we are only doing the main menu, so let's just set the main camera is set up. So let's just, what we need to add, let's add the title text first. So let's create a UI text and we'll call it title, and let's set up the canvas. Instead of screen space camera, we'll set it to overlay, we'll set it to camera, and scale it with size, and match the width to 0. And after that, let's add an image for the background. So let's add a UI image, and let's just call it BG, and we'll set it up at the top of here so we can see it. And for this image, let's just reset, and let's set the image as the background, and we'll set its native size. So as you can see, that's how it's going to look. And let's set up the main camera to be the, let's leave it at white. Yep, let's leave it at white. So after that, let's set up the title, and we'll make it text, and let's have it 128, and let's position it center, and let's make its size bigger, and it should be positioned towards the center. The text should be bold, and we'll just call it brick breaker. So let's increase the size to 196, 92, and we should be able to see if it increases size. And let's position it at y 500. So that's how the title text going to look. And for the color, we are going to use this uh, gray color, which is for the title, and it looks pretty good. And after that, we'll need the play button. So let's add the UI button, and it's going to be 500 by 150, and there's not going to be any sprite, but we'll just call it play, and its position at the center, and its color tint's going to be none. And for the color, I'm going to use from one of the bricks. So this is the light green color, and light green. So this one is the light green color, and let's set up its text. So it's just going to say play and position center. Let's make it 128 and bold so we can see. We change, be able to see. And the text, it needs to be white because white looks better. And let's increase the size of the button. So instead of 500, let's make it and 255, and it looks pretty. So after that, this is our play button. So let's save it as a prefab because we are going to use it multiple times. So we have saved it as a prefab. Now we need to position the button a little bit downwards and we'll add the levels. So for the while, let's position it at negative 350, and we'll create an empty on the canvas, and we'll just call it levels. And inside the levels, we'll add the button to the levels. So this one is and let's make it 150 by 150, and similarly I'll just call it 1, and after that for the text we'll set it to 1, and let's duplicate it multiple times. So we have 5 levels, and next one we are going to call 2, third one we are going to call 3, fourth one we are going to call 4, and the fifth one we are going to call 5. And let's position it correctly. So for the negative x, let's position at negative 400, and similarly for the second one, let's position at negative 100. So it's already looking good enough, and let's make it text. And similarly for the third, we just need to change the text 3, and after that for the fourth we need to change its x to 400, and we need to change the text to, and let's set the fifth one to be 400, and we'll change its text to 5. So these are our buttons, and it won't show up at the beginning. When we hit play, we should be able to see the level. And now let's create the menu manager. And I already created the menu manager script, so I'll attach it to the menu manager. So let's open the menu manager and let's start creating it. So for the menu manager, let's remove all the start and create methods. And the first thing we are going to need is the serialized field for the play button and the levels. So let's go inside Visual Studio and let's do a serialized field for the game object, which is the play button and the, and let's call the awake method. And in the awake method, we'll set the play button dot set active to true, and we won't show the levels. So levels dot set active false. And let's copy it, and here instead of private, let's public, and instead of awake, we'll just call it play pressed, play pressed. And here we'll just do the reverse. We'll hide the We'll hide the play button and we'll show the levels. And after that, let's create a public void level selected. And inside the level selected, what we'll do is we need to get the name. So int, let's just get level, and we are going to get as int.parse. And we need to get the current selected game object's name. So unity engine dot event system dot event system dot current selected game object dot name. So it will give us the name of the current level, and after that what we'll do is player prefs dot set int for the key. We'll just call it level, and then we'll pass the level. And after that we'll do is unity engine dot scene management dot scene manager dot load scene and 0. So that should be it for the main menu scene. So let's go inside Unity, and we need to add the current scene, and we'll need to create a new scene to store the gameplay. So let's see if the current scene is added. It's not added, so let's add the current scene. And after that, let's create a new scene, and we'll save that new scene, and we'll save it inside the scenes folder, and we'll call it gameplay. So the gameplay scene is created. I don't know why it was there, but we have created the gameplay scene, and there is nothing inside the gameplay scene, but we need to add the gameplay scene to the current build. So we'll add the add open, and inside the game manager where we did the load scene of 0, we should be able to open this game. So let's go inside the main menu scene and let's hit play. And before that, we need to add all the references and the on click events. So for the play button, add the play button, and similarly for the levels, add the levels. And for the play button, we'll add the event listener as the menu manager dot play pressed. And for each of the levels, we can add it multiple times. We'll do levels, and now let's hit play. So if we hit play, we are able to see the levels, and if we hit any of this not 0, we need to set it to 1. So I just set it to 0, we need to set it to 1. So let's hit play, and we should be able to see the levels, and this opens the gameplay scene. So that's it for the main menu scene. We won't be going inside the main menu again. So now let's start creating the gameplay scene. So inside the gameplay scene, first we'll set up all the assets. So for the bat, its sizing was, I'll need to check it again. So for the paddle, it was 128, 128, and 128. So everything is 128. So let's set it up. And it's a little bit uglier. So we'll need to slice it. So let's just automatically slice it and apply. And similarly, we'll do it for all the bricks. It's 128 pixels and multiple, and we'll apply, and we'll need to edit every one of. So let's slice this automatically, and let's do for this. And similarly for all the. So let's set up the main camera. So first thing we need to do is change the size to 15 because our background is pretty large. And after that, let's add the text for the score, and it will just say score 0, and let's make it 128. Let's make it bold, set it up as right and centered, and we'll need to change its size. So that's how the score is going to look. And let's add the background. So that's how the background is going to look. Let's set up the score at something like and we'll change the score's color to be this dark one. So the score is looking good. After that, let's rename this as BG, and it should be positioned a little bit backwards. So I'm setting up its Z position as 1. So we have added the background. Now let's add the walls. Let's just create an empty and we'll call it walls. Add the walls again, empty, and call it walls. And let's go inside the game. Let's read for the wall slider 2D. Let's set its height to 50 for the expose. Negative 8.5, and let's duplicate this wall. So add negative, and similarly, let's rotate 9 plane. Set the Y position. Let's duplicate this wall again outside. Call it will be positioned at negative 8.5. Here we'll add that. So the ball should be able to move around in this. So now what we need to do is let's add here. Let's also create the game. Add the scripts. Create the script. Add the game. So after adding the game manager, we need the ball, brick. What else? Platform. So let's first add the ball. And for the ball, we'll add collide. We'll need to create a new. So let's here. We'll rename it to bouncy. We'll have just add it to the body 2D. Dynamic gravity scale 0. Okay, let's after having the rigid body, let's scale render. We'll do it afterward. Have the ball. Uh, let's set its gravity scale to 1, so we should be able to see the ball jumping. So the ball is jumping. Good. So let's set its gravity scale. So after its gravity scale is set to 0, we'll add a tag of ball. Also add the trail render afterwards, but let's add it now. And for the trail render, set the time render color. Let's set its end, set its on option. So let's just RGB. Yes, so we should be able to see the trail render. Uh, let's see if it is too bad. And let's set. So we need us is more than enough to add the material. For the material, let's just renderer is be positive instead of there's something going on. Let's close and so it needs to be behind a diagram. So let's create a ball script. So in scripts, call it ball. Early we'll create a for the brick and create a script paddle. After that, how many paddle power up will just be called power. Now should be power up So let's add the bullets. Use it afterwards. Create it now. I'll it's a wall. Body to add the wall scripts. Not going to do much. Wall, wall is set up. Now we need to set up the paddle. Now let's set up paddle. So for the paddle, it is inside the bats. Add it up. Let's right render will need capsule polarity. Let's set its for the material. We'll need the bouncy material. Or it has, it doesn't have a rigid body. We'll need the material. Let's tag it as a player, and after that we'll add the paddle. So the paddle is added. It as a prefab. Similarly, we'll add the brick one and paddle. So the brick, what we'll add is just slider 2D. It will have a bouncy material. It's not triggered. After that, we need a rigid body tag. Let's create the tags. All tag have brick tag. So let's add the tag to the brick. And similarly, we need to add the brick script. It's needed, but we'll just add it here. And let's save it as a prefab. And let's modify the wall and the paddle script. Let's delete the brick script. It's the first position paddle. So add -1. And let's add the ball. Position it at -6. The renderer is looking ugly. Camera motion. So we'll do something about it later. So now if we hit play, it should collide with the ball because we need the ball script and we'll need to modify the paddle script. So let's go inside Visual Studio. Let's modify the paddle script. Let's modify the ball script first because we just had to add the start. What we need to do is the 2D and get the reference for RB equals to get component rigid body 2D. And after getting its rigid body, we'll need to add a force. So let's create that force. We'll need to create speed, add a force speed. Let's just set what we'll do is create a to for the x position to random dot range -1f to +1f, and for the y position +1. So and pass the p dot add force, pass the direction dot normalize, pass the add, all should add this, and let's set up the paddles. So the paddles just going left or right, the speed, load speed and speed. Let's just yeah, we'll see about it later. Direction dot normalized. We'll add it as an impulse. Up as an impulse. Add the ball. And inside the paddle, we'll just do dot. The translate will go to v2 dot right speed and dot delta time. Get the axis. So dot get axis. And the axis we are going to get is the horizontal. After getting the transforms, we need it to bind it to the left and right. So let's get its transform first. So get the for the transform was x not x f. So if m dot x greater than 6 and set to new vector 3, and the x position will pass the 6f. For the rest, but similarly negative 6f, and we'll set its position. After doing this, we should be able to move the ball and move the paddle. So at the start, the ball also everything has the bouncy materials, so it's not hiding here, but we have not added any. We added the ball and the paddle. After adding the ball and the paddle, we need to add everything inside the game manager. Game manager will calculate the score. So hit a brick, score will be calculated. So let's go inside Visual Studio. Before that, let's create the end game menu. And for that, for the canvas, let's create empty panel for the edge. Let's set its size 1200 for the height. Let's decrease the opacity. And inside the end panel, let's first add the play button. Let's give to 50. Similarly, the next we are going to call new. Next is its position to the center. And the last one, this one. So the last play to button. So for the play, let's set its color. So these are the buttons. We are not going to show it at this pick. Words should have all our buttons set up. The is also set up. Now add the game man. And if the ball collides with the brick, is this. So let's go inside Visual Studio and add game man. Let's just delete the start and the upper. So first thing we are going to need is a first variable we are going to text. So let's make a serial field and the game object that we're going to call is the store text. To add that or UI, the brick. We'll use the power up later, but UI, that's text. Afterward, let's create a serialized field. Serialized field for sprites. Set the sprite or the brick sprites for after that, we need the public static game manager instance. And next one, we'll need a boolean for the hash game. Here for the score and multiplier. Next ones, so next we are going to have a 3D array for the levels. And now let's call the awake. So inside the awake, first let's set up the instance this as just this. And after setting up the instance, let's set up the. So the first thing we need to do is set the time scale. Inject Even if we don't change it, we'll put it up here. Multiply the one. Has game finished is set to false. After that, core text or component here. We will need component. Its text is going for just this code. We need to game dot. We don't need to show the end game. After having the awake, let's create the function for rest of the. Let's create the function for the public void go to, and what it will do is that dot scene manager dot scene manager dot load scene is the 0. We'll copy it again and all here we'll just load. After that, and public void. So for the game quit application dot quit, test it inside the Unity editor. If we are in the Unity editor, edit dot set false, we'll add the end if. So that's it for the game quit. Now next up, we need to check for the. So the end game is going to be called whenever it. So the first thing we need to check game object dot game objects that need to add ball, and we'll do the length. We'll check if oh, one and the game has not returned. So if length is not equal to 1, that means there are multiple balls. So if the game is finished and then we are calling the end game, so the bricks are, that doesn't matter, is all this end game. And here we'll just do time scale 0, and we'll show the end game dot active, and we'll just after that we need a void. And here we'll just do start over here, and let's do the game finished. So if we hit brick, we should be able to. It will be called on each frame. Brick. So there's not any additional condition here. First check if game object find objects with tag. Here the tag we are going to get is the brick, and we'll need to get its length. And if it's not equal to 0, and just then if it is 0, we'll do the let's get the and we are going to get it from pair prefs and the integer. Well, then we'll just do the current level percentage equal to 5, increase level. After that, all the end game. This game finished with true. For that, we need player prefs for the level. So it will set up the current level we are passing it. Game finished. It will be called inside every update. We'll first check the game is finished. Return this with the game. So this will check if the game is finished. Now the next one we are going to need to have is the update score. So let's do it before the game. Void it. We are just, for now we are not going to pass any parameters. We'll just increase the score and multiply by the combo multiplier. Combo multiplier. After that, we'll set. So we have set up the score. We'll spawn a power up, but we are not going to do it now. So that should be it for the game manager. We'll need to spawn the bricks, but we'll do it a little bit later. We'll do it afterward. First, need to check if the game is finished and everything's working. So let's go inside Unity for the game manager. Let's add one. Add this text, game panel, power up, bricks are also. Okay, so the game is finished because we don't have any bricks added. Let's add a couple of bricks. Okay, the score is not increasing. But yep, the score is not increasing. We need to go inside Visual Studio and add it for this. The first one's going to be the on collision enter 2D, and if collision add tag dot game object dot compare tag, and let's set the first tag for, so call the game manager dot its score. After updating the score, we'll capture. Okay. And like just destroy this game object. Don't call the update score. What we call the game. Similarly, slide add destroy. So now let's go inside Unity. So the score is increased. The reset. Finish the game. So let's first check it. Let's check if it. So there's an error. So it's inside the collision, and it will set it as a trigger to detect the collision. All respawn, there is no material added and doesn't. So where is the problem? Yes, PAW correct. Tag is correct. Collision dot game object. So let's play. So the object is getting destroyed, but the level is not dead. So but there should be a problem right here. There should be the problem at the game as game. Let's I'll just check. So I just commented that condition it was going to get used later. Okay, so the game is and we are not added the functionality for it's getting finished. That's some error. Okay, the has game finished is set false. Caught the error. Has game finished at the beginning. Not working. Now let's see if it is. Yep. And now let's add the functionality for all the buttons inside the panel. Here for the play, going to gameplay. For the quit. So let's start. So we can play the game again. Game is game. The quit just quits the game. Now what we need to do is we need to add the bricks. So brick. We'll need to spawn the bricks. So 1.81. Let's get it starting position. Let's spawn bricks. So it's just a function spawn bricks which at the start. So let's go inside Visual Studio. Depending on copied the levels on the. So after setting all this up, create a void. Call this bricks. I'll create. We'll call the void. So on the what we need to add is the brick sprite. The let's add the bricks. So I'm inside Unity. Maybe we'll just do it. So the first thing what we are going to need the Y code and the level. So let's first get the level. Level get dot get and for the key we are going to pass. So we have got the level. So get the width and so let's get x. Width is going to be brick dot get component. Let's get box collider 2D component and inside the box collider to let's get the similarly copy it instead of x let's just y and similarly that we'll just loop and for the looping or it has rows by rows Let's do the loop again. Okay, maybe we have, so first we'll check if the levels or the x position, it is level minus. For the row, we are going to get the ith component. For the column, we are going to get the, if it is not equal to 0, then we'll just instantiate, going to instantiate as a brick and store it in a template game object, because we need to set its sprite. So the first thing we need to set vector 2. Vector 2 for start position, just do dot x, and y position I dot y negative, need start. So this will be our position. After that, we need to set or get mirror, and the sprite, it's going to be fixed sprite. We pass the, so we'll have 5 sprites. That should be it. So let's go inside Unity now and let's set everything up. So let's do, we are going, let's position at 1.5, 7. So negative 5.437, 435. Early will add all the bricks. So already we have set it up for the blue. Let's set 0, truth, red, and do we have the brick object? No. So let's add the brick object. Now add, we need, now if we hit play, so the score is getting, where is our green? Brick sprite for the level minus. Don't know why is there a problem. Let's, so as you can see the comp. So if we okay, we are passing the, to pass the, we need to pass levels, uh, and pass. So there was a little bit of problem. And now if we hit play, we should be able to see the green bricks all over. Just eat and let's go to menu and let's select the main menu, select the next level. Let's we select the level. There's and again there's a little bit of problem. We'll need to subtract one more time. Now maybe it should show the correct levels. Okay, let's go to the menu. The level is working fine. Going to the score, everything are the so the game is pretty much finished. Oops, there's so the power ups we are going to add. First power we are going to add will be the speed power up, which decrease time scale, and we'll add all the different power ups. So let's just stop this game. I'll see where I've reached. So we created the game manager and can spawn the bricks. Now the power ups are only. So for the power ups, we'll need to create the power up first. Let's create the power up. Power. So inside the project, at the power ups, let's yellow one. It's not going to call it power, and it will have a circle collider 2D to trigger. And it also has a rigid body 2D. And we'll need to have a tag of power and power script. So let's have a tag of and we'll save it as a prefab. Now let's start modifying the power script. So the paddle is going to collide with the power and we'll need a bullet. So we'll create the bullet afterward. Add how power ups game manager where we have the add the power for the power. Let's add all the powers. So yellow, add one, red one, and let's add red one. So these are the power ups. Power ups with bond for this heads up. So we are going to updates and we'll do it as a random probability. Inside the update function, first get the random value. Not 2 is great and 25% chance to spawn a power up. Let's just get game of and create. We are going to instance the power up. Let's uh, so for the position for the update score, the brick able to get it. Else is right now. Just vector just for the power and let's set the power up. So let's just set the power up type 1. Power up script as it is with 5f. Let's go type. We are going to start function, but it will have update and in update will translate. Bye bye. Filter time. So after doing that, we'll just check if transform dot put dot 1 9. We'll just store it or that. So that's it for the power up. Inside the game manager, set the power up type to 1. So we are setting the time. We'll just not get that power component set to, and similarly we'll set its sprites, not power sprite, power sprites for the type mine. So it should spawn a power up, but to detect the power up, we'll add the. So I'll create a couple of variables and coroutines able to things. Yep. The menu manager is finished. Power is finished, and the brick we are going to add afterwards. We are going to add it afterwards, and let's set up the power. So the first power decrease. Let's create the speed. Let's visualize before the game object, and again have a serialized field for the three left and right. After that, we'll have the integer for of and it will be have the lightning ball type timer, and we'll have a float for the timer. Let's delete the start method. Fake 0 shoot timer to 2f and it's timer to 0 speed time. There is nothing much going inside the update, but we'll need to do the trigger. So it's going to be trigger activated kinematic. Unity. So for the power prefab, it has a circle collider and it needs to fire things fine. So it is the trigger types. So we'll do on trigger enter 2D. We'll do a switch on the type. So the first thing we need to check if whatever we are colliding, the paddle just needs to check for the power ups. If not, collision.gameObject.compare tag of power. Game object is not power. Let's get type collision.game component. We are going to power and type is switch. So let's add all the cases. By default. So for the first case, we'll start the coroutine. So let's create a coroutine name and here the first thing we'll do, okay, setting the time at speed and here it seconds. We'll wait for 2 seconds. Waiting for 2 seconds. The speed timer 0. Then just set the time scale to 1. So it will go on for 4 seconds. Case 1. Yeah, going. So it should work. And let's go inside Unity and let's see any errors. What's going to be error? Yeah, going. Okay, we need to destroy the game object. Hiding. So I just added the destroy the collision game object. So the speed decrease is working. So the first power up is done. Now let's do the second. So the second power up is going to be like the first power up. But instead of setting up the time scale, what it will do, yeah, hours, it will have a similar template that build. Uh, let's wait for 4 seconds. First thing, let's increase the size timer. here with the size. If the number of size tag is 0, we'll do whatever we are doing. So let's be 3m because scale at the dot scale x will pass s dot y and the temp dot z. So let's copy it and here I think it set it. So it should increase the size all the start protein going to be the power size. So it will increase the size. So for the game manager, let's set up its type to 2 so we can see how it works. Let's go inside unit. It should be the second power up we are using. So the size is increased. Hence the size will. Next power up is going to be the shooting power up. Add spawn positions inside the scene. Add create an M and let's just call it left. Let's position it one X, duplicate it, call it right. Let's set 2 and it looks almost good. There is bullet spawning. So let's have. So these are the spawning positions. Add the spawn left and the right. We'll need to create the bullet. We need it. Reference 1.410 to 1. So for the left is -1, right? 1 point. And now create the bullet. So for creating the bullet, we'll just use 2D sprite capsule. Let's reset its transform right offer and let's set its size 0 point. So let's say for this bullet we'll need to have what we need right renderer capsule and let's we create the bullet script but so the first thing is the capsule provider 2D. Body click. Let's So we have everything we need, and let's recall it. Let's save it as a. Let's delete this prefab. Let's start editing this. So let's go inside Visual Studio and let's edit the bullets. So for the bullet, not going to be much different. Similarly, like the power up, that's speed. Let's set its speed F1. 20 maybe a little bit fast. Let's set F, and similarly, the update function, and inside the update function, we just do it and go move towards up to not at the time. If dot put that by the game. And here we need to check for collisions. So the first will have on collision enter 2D and enter 2D, because we are going to set the brick at trigger at some. Let's do if collision dot add tag is not collision dot game object dot compare tag, and if it's colliding with a brick, and we need to destroy collision dot game object. After that, we need to manage update score and the dot position, and we'll destroy the game early. Compare trigger enter T. If collision dot flag tag hit brick, then we'll just do the destroy collision dot game object. Paste here. So that's it for the bullet. And after having the bullet, we need to spawn the bullet inside the paddles. Hit the powers or it here. Adds add a coroutine for the power shoot. And inside the power shooting, that's first let's set the let's set it to 0. And afterwards we'll check while number of shoot timer is greater than then first shoot bullets. So we'll instantiate bullet, add the transform dot position left and quaternion dot identity. Similarly, add the right. Afterwards, wait for 5 seconds. New real time set timers and decrease the shoot timer of bullet. After doing that, the end, we need to reset the shoot timer. So the number of shoot timers F. And it's going to be for the case 3. So the first check if the timer is greater than F, and we start coroutine the shooting. Else, what we'll do is we'll just reset the shoot timer to 2. So it works correctly. And let's add the times. Pause, see the scale awaiting side but and inside the game manager, let's set the type to 3. And if there are not any errors, we should be able to see bullets at the play. So there are bullets spawning, but the collisions. Why is it happening? Simulated kinematic and trigger. For the bullet, we have done it there and there is a problem. None of the both have rigid bodies. So the bullet has a rigid body. Box collider not have. It needs. Okay, so the bullet is set to trigger. Game should. So the next level is also loaded. So a little bit delay. What did it happen? Oh, so we are able to shoot the bullets only. So the two power-ups which are remaining is the lightning ball. We are going to use a lot of delegates. And the last one is the multi-ball in which will spawn 2 more balls. So they are pretty much easy. We'll just need to connect delegates here and there. And there's a little bit problem how the routine is working. Paddle. It is greater than or equal to 2f. Bullet time is equal to 2f and last problem. And we'll shoot 2 bullets. So let's what we need. Let's add the lightning ball power up. Yeah, let's add the lightning ball power up. So lightning ball will just set the trail balls. We set it up to play the trail render. Set up the trail render. One Too much ugly. There is a problem. Yep, the width so the trade render is going to be all set. After whenever this coroutine is called, call the on lighting, off lighting. Lighting is subscribed by the ball render off light of that. So let's do it. It's pretty much easy. It's just so inside the game manager, inside the paddle for the fourth add. So let's create a at the first do s create return wait and go forth. And after waiting for 3 seconds, not power. So the power lightning, we are going to do the number timer minus minus, and if it is 0, then we'll call the events. Events we are going to create it in all. Let's create here. So let's set up the ball and the brick ball. So first we'll need a serialized field ball, and then we will need kinetic to add the action. So there's not going to be much at the action. Right, well, similarly the public action decibel. And we'll need one more action. After that, of random dot range dot random dot will need. So it is working fine. It needed. It's not. And inside the start, we are going to get the reference. Before that, we'll so it's going to be void. I think here. Let's go. And similarly for the off writing, set it to false. Next one is going to be multi multi hit a ball at the and quaternion dot identity. We need to spawn two more balls. So we'll just hit. Let's reference and we need to set the renderer. Enable ball and last one and this destroyed or not. Yes, yes. Let's so that was for the ball. Six. So for the brick, that's not going to be much different with that method. And with that. And let's create the on lighting and the void on here. Yeah, get for the brick. We have the box collider to trigger. Set it. Let's copy it again for the off lighting false. At the start, loop or on lightning plus off lighting. Similar dot enable on will destroy and here will. So it should set up the lightning and inside the game manager let's test for the type 4. So we should be passed. We should be able to. So let's go inside Unity. Let's see if with systems. Let's hit play first. We are not calling it, so whenever this happens inside the paddle, call the ball dot lightning enable. Here will call dot on light. So now it should work. We have not called it from the paddle. So now let's hit play. King work again. I think we didn't call the coroutine. So we need to also call the coroutine. Created the power lightning. And now it should work. So at first I didn't call the action. Afterwards I didn't call the code. That is not, but that's how it is. Sometimes you forget ability. So inside the game manager, I'll go and where we checked for the greater than 0.75f, let's make it 0.5f. So and now we should have a render is working. I think we didn't set the rights to it. So the score has increased. Write some important. So where will be the problem? At the ball and okay, for the collision I'll show it. So after we did this, it was triggered for the ball. It was only set up as for the collision. We set it up as a trigger inside the bullet, but the ball also updates. We'll need to for the on trigger enter. And if collision dot compare tag and if there's a brick, then just to game dot four towards updating this toy dot position and the ball's getting collided to destroy the getting destroyed. So now it should work. For set up as a trigger, add trigger entered. So now it should work. As you can see, it is working perfectly. The timer finishes. It render more error. Let's see where the error is. It should be in uh, and using it. And all writing. Let's do the multi-ball. Afterwards, we'll debug it. Paddle and I will spot with one more. Let's set it to 5. I have so it will spawn. Okay, it didn't the variable of ball but never. Okay, so the ball has not. Yep. So let's go inside the ball. And the ball. Now it should spawn balls. Got an. So because there was an error inside it here, if the game has not finished. So the first condition here, now the game is not finished and okay. Hey, don't crash, please. So I don't know what happened, but I think my unit is going to crash. Yep, crash. Come on, get outside. Don't want to re-edit this video. So let's see is if it will come back. So doesn't look like it's going to come back. End the video here. We have added all the power-ups and the game's working perfectly fine. So the only thing we'll need to add is change the probability when the power-up's going to spawn, and instead of setting the type as we are typing it here, we'll set it a random range from 0 till not 0 1 till 6. So it will spawn it from 1 to 5, and doesn't look like my unit is going to working fine, so I'm ending the video here. And there was a problem with the multi-ball. I don't know why was it working. So if you find the problem, uh, you comment it below. So that was it for this video. And balls. If you like the video, like and subscribe the channel. And thank you for watching. I wanted to show how the game's going to look at the end, but I'm not going to re-edit this video, so I'll just you may be able to do it yourself and see how the game looks. Thank you for watching.